Good morning, Julianne here, and this is Melonville. This is my journal of mostly gardening in southeast Saskatchewan. I wanted to give you an update of how things are looking. I've potted up most of the tomatoes to these large size pots because I think they were ready, and everybody's getting hardened off outside in the greenhouse. Most of the tomatoes are actually living out here now. They go in the box overnight, but they're outside hardening off during the day. The petunias, remember how tiny they were? Well, this is how big they are now. Most of them have buds on them. They're getting ready to go out. In fact, I will probably start to put one or two out each morning. I hate to do them all at once. It always seems so risky. We've had a very bad couple of days. You may have seen the weather reports. I have prepared a few sad photos accompanied by some sad music. I knew that this was coming, so last week I prepared in a couple of different ways. I turned over the compost heap. It had pretty much stopped cooking, so I figured if I turned it on the weekend and it took 3 or 4 days to get back up to temperature like it did last time, that it would be at a good temperature by the time the snow came as predicted on Thursday night. So let's see what it did. There's too much sun in here. It's not going to show very well, but you might be able to see that the compost is at 60 degrees, which is awesome. Nice and hot. I've got some plants sitting on top of here to keep themselves warm, and I took a little temperature probe, put it just right below the plant so we could see what the surface temperature is, and it's 35 degrees. So perfectly timed. Really worked out well. Kept everything in here nice and warm. Box worked really well last night too. It was 10 degrees in the box when I came out here this morning. So this bed of onions has this taller frame, and I had a tarp over it, and there's a tarp that went over top. So it just made sure that there was some airspace. It made sure that the tarp and the cold water and the snow did not actually touch the onions. And again, they look okay. We'll just have to see how they bounce back and how long it takes them to bounce back. Of course, anytime you build something like this out here, you get the cat's attention. There are many cat prints in there already. There's one other thing that I put together on the weekend to prepare, and this is where the cabbage and eventually things like lettuce and bok choy are going to go. This is that light mesh fabric, and I just bent some wire, found it in the barn, no surprise. Hello, kitty. So I bent some wire into some hoops, used some metal clips. These are clothesline pegs that you can get at Lee Valley. They're pretty cool. I really like the metal ones. So let's see, I'll open it up and show you how they did. I already peeked. I had put some of the cabbage out here, and they look okay. They don't look too bad. That leaf is a little yellow. That leaf back there is a little yellow. So I'm sure they're not happy, Let's see. It's wet. A lot of rain came through, but when I came out here, there's a fair amount of snow that gathered on top, so it kept the snow off. That did its job. So I did uncover everything this morning, and I kind of figured that any sun that we get today, and we might get a little, it should be 4 or 5 degrees today, any sun that we get today should be allowed to heat up the beds so that when I cover them back up again, they've got something stored in the ground to keep the air above zero. Because honestly, I'm more worried about tonight than I was about last night. Tonight it's actually supposed to go below zero. So we'll come back tomorrow and see what things look like. I think everybody looks okay. It's not unexpected. They should look okay. I mean, they are onions. Onions can take a few degrees of freeze. Obviously we've bounced back from that nasty weather and things are moving forward again in the garden. This weekend George helped me put in the start of the potatoes. We've been, for the last couple of years, doing a modified Ruth Stout method. And that means we put down layers of straw and let it decompose, break down, and then just keep piling more straw on top as needed. When it's time to actually plant the potatoes, you can see I just sort of scrape away a little spot for the potato. Then you drop your seed potato in. It should touch the ground, and then you just cover it back over with the straw. As the potato starts to grow up, you can add more straw on top. And this straw just stays here. It rots down. We don't clear it away in the fall. It just, puts another layer, and you just keep adding layers to it. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. We've had some pretty good results, but of course we've had some drought years, and potatoes don't appreciate that. So we're hoping this year will be a change. We're also trying a different experiment this year with potatoes. I'm planting some in containers. This is probably a little bit less than 30 gallons. It's what our plum tree came in last year. And I've been following a few vloggers who have converted from planting their potatoes in beds into planting them in containers, with a lot of good reasons why. And hey, I'm up for any experiment, so I'm gonna try it too. We've got some Yukon Golds in a couple of containers like this. Yukon Golds are determinate potatoes, which means they only grow on a single layer, which means they probably should do pretty well for us here in the containers. How many times can I say the word container? This was a hard video to do. Once I skipped a week, it was almost like I lost some of my momentum. I had an awful lot to do out here, so I didn't actually lose momentum in getting work done. Just anything that I had videoed earlier seemed so old and boring that it couldn't possibly be useful. But we'll get back on track, and I guess I will sign this off so I can at least get one done, and we shall see you again next week. Thanks for stopping by.